welcome into a live edition of the KC Laboratory presented by Emprise Bank, member FDIC, our amazing partners in Possible here at KC Sports Network. Kent Swanson here with Matthew Lane. I saw what you did there. I know exactly what you did there. Maddie, good on you. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight, everyone. We appreciate you. Maddie, how we feeling tonight? What?
Let's go! I was not ready for this. What is going on, Greg? I was so excited to see you pop up there in the backstage section. I'm very upset in Tucker for knowing this was happening, not telling me so I could not prepare intro music. I'm actually going to give him an earful after this.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I just, figured I'd ask this question of you. You mind if I jump on and talk a little ball with you tonight?
Yes, I do mind because I want you here.
Okay. How would you, second question here, would you mind if I jumped on and joined you every Wednesday night for the foreseeable future? How would you gentlemen feel about that?
I am astonished, and I would absolutely love nothing more, Craig. I've never been happier.
Okay, for the podcast listener, Kent and Maddie had no idea this was coming. None whatsoever. Tucker, I owe you some money. I said that Kent was going to tear you up. You said the full cry. Listen, I really wanted, I miss this. I miss you guys, all three of you. I miss the people, that are here listening and things like that as well.
Wait, that was a tear.
That was a tear. I owe Tucker money.
Wait, did you think I was going to cry? Did you think I was going to cry? Where did that fall out in the list?
Not at all.
Okay.
No. No, absolutely not. This has been in the works for just a little bit here, but yeah, took a break about a year ago. I don't have the full bandwidth to jump on every lab, but that's right. I will be on every Wednesday night lab. Moving forward here, I'm really excited to get to do this with you gentlemen again.
I've never been happier.
Gosh, man. Like, okay, yeah. You got me. You got me, man. I will tell you this. So I was talking to BJ the other day. And he's like, yeah, Craig called me. You need to talk to me about something. And there was just like a little bit in the back of my head that was hoping it was something along these lines. I'm gonna need a minute to collect myself here. This is incredible news. Very excited to have you on, Craig. I forgot how to do this. I don't know the last time we've done a lab together, all three of us. Was it literally last year?
No, the last lab that we did together was at the Shrine. Yeah. The quality of that was not amazing.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the last time that the quality was better, I was barely there. Meaning mentally, physically I was there, but mentally I was barely there. Due to the game that we're about to talk to you about here in just a little bit. So yeah.
Oh my goodness, that was a fun time. That was a fun last show. Okay, have you collected yourself, Ken? Are you ready to take back over? Or?
Funnily enough, I listened to the post-game show. I tried to listen to the post-game show for the AFC Championship game that we're about to talk about.
Did you just skip forward to the monologue?
No, I didn't even get to that point. The audio we were struggling. We were not just mentally and physically and emotionally, but audibly. The audio is just really tough to listen to. Okay. Yeah, I guess we need to. So, Craig, did you watch this game?
I did watch this game. I prepared for this. Tucker has been working this out, man. Super producer Tucker behind the scenes has been working on this.
Time on the field before Craig comes back and Kent's trying to speed run into this as if we didn't have breaking news today. As if we didn't get some breaking news today, as the Chiefs have unfortunately waived Siaki Ika, defensive tackle, brought over from the Browns out of Baylor. Listen, guys, I don't know what this says to you guys, but the Chiefs are getting real thin there at that nose tackle spot.
I mean, they had plenty of them, Maddie, so surely they can move on from a couple of defensive linemen. That's not a position group that any of us are worried about whatsoever. Yeah, no, this was a little bit surprising. He was well regarded coming out too. So for it to, it was one of those swings that you appreciated that they took, but yeah, the depth there ain't looking great, and they didn't really add guys in the middle there that you feel really confident playing nose specifically. So like, what's the move, Kent? What are they doing here?
You heard Mike Pennell talk a lot about Fabian Levette this offseason. You heard him gassing up Fabian Levette, the guy with 35-inch arms and the guy with the kind of frame to be able to play along the interior there. So I just kind of wonder if that's not a Fabian Levette indicator right there. Him and Marlon Tuipulotu are the only two like interior guys that can kind of capacity. Maybe Fabian Levette's making moves. Siaki Ika, it also might not be an indicator of that position at all because, like, Siaki Ika's talent's not the question. He's had weight issues basically since he got into the league. So the fluctuation in weight has been a big issue for him. The reason that he got moved on from as a third-round pick almost immediately was some weight issues. Like, he's gone through that a lot over the last, couple years. So if he hasn't been able to put it together in that regard, then like, yeah, maybe that's just the indicator. So I don't know. It could go both ways. I am fascinated about how much love Fabian Levette's been getting, though. That is piquing my interest a little bit.
Yeah, sure. I mean, hopefully, I guess. It's not like Siaki Ika was like some guaranteed roster spot or guaranteed to make any impact on this team. It's just if you were looking at what the Chiefs did or didn't do at the defensive tackle spot, I think he was the first name that your eyes are going to gravitate towards because he had a pedigree at one point in time coming out of college, or even when he did get drafted. I mean, he was still a day 2 pick. And there was even bigger hype than that, the year before. So he was the guy that was easy to latch onto and say, hey, if there's a sleeper, it could be him. It could be a Levette. It could be somebody else. Maybe there's somebody that they're expecting to be cut here in the near future that they have their eyes on or whatever it is. So I don't think the room's settled. I don't think that the Ika waiving is a big deal. It kind of took me by surprise a little bit that they couldn't even get him into what they wanted. Anybody else have any more Ika thoughts here? Or can I move on to our second bit of breaking news?
Oh, yes. It's June 11th. I think that's the part that's like the thing that's a little bit concerning here. Like they didn't see him with pads on yet. Like they didn't really get through the stuff. I don't know, unless you're just, hey, we're going to go with an all 3-tech front line here and just, slant everything and try and live in the backfield. And hey, we don't really care because Leo Chanel can take on a block anyway. So who cares if he's not clean? I don't know. Like the whole way they've approached the defensive tackle position this offseason has been odd and a little bit concerning. Yeah. So I'm very curious to see how that all shapes up.
And it seems like the corresponding move was signing a tight end, Kevin Fulsch. Maybe. And so with Travis Kelce, I don't think has been, he's been recovering from like injuries or not been at the OTA stuff so far. I don't think Jared Wiley's been practicing yet. And then it sounds like Trey Watson has also been dinged up. Maybe they just needed another body, another tight end. Hey, maybe they realized none of their tight ends can block. And so I don't know if Kevin Fulsch can, but maybe the move was just, hey, we got to get another guy in here to play tight end. And Siaki Ika was just at the bottom of the cut list. That said, we have even more breaking news. And now, Greg, I mean, I would love for you to weigh in on this one, but this was mostly for Kent. So, you can take a second here because this is for Kent. Kent, big news. I just learned about this. Did you know that starting at the end of June, Costco is allowing executive members to shop their own hours?
What does that even mean?
That means if you come to the store if you're an executive member and you go to a Costco an hour before they open, you can shop before the normies can.
So can I show up at 2 a.m.?
No, it's an hour before. So whatever, like, at least that's the way ours are. So yeah, then hour before.
Your own hours, like it's like anytime you want to show up.
It's an hour before. I figured you being the biggest supporter of Costco besides Kirk Cousins would be all over this. So I'm very glad that I got to break this news to you.
Thank you for sharing that with me.
It might actually give Kent a reason to get up before 10 o'clock in the morning. I mean, Costco will be open a little earlier. So
you never know what kind of pajamas you can buy.
I'm easily the latest riser on this show.
Easily.
These two get up, they eat breakfast. Like, who does that?
Mm-hmm.
Like, who are we kidding? Appreciate everyone hanging out with us tonight. And appreciate Craig Stout for bringing a big piece of joy into my life today. I'm so excited for that news, and you jerks for
I wanted a genuine reaction, and I got the genuine reaction.
You absolutely did. So I'm beside myself. And Craig did the homework for the show too. He's locked and loaded, so we should talk about the second Bills game that we've watched this week.
How happy are you?
The AFC Championship game against the Buffalo Bills. And man, how fitting is it that Craig shows up for this episode? Because he was watching this game with us, sort of. There was like a good hour where I didn't know where you were at. Like it's during the game.
The game outside. It was chilly. I was tending to a fire outside. We had a little fire pit going. I was
for him and no one else. It was just him tending to a fire pit for himself.
And watching TV outside. I was having a great time. I really was.
Didn't EJ Snyder come hang out with you for a while out there?
Yeah, EJ and one of the bootleg producers. Oh, shoot. I forgot his name. My apologies if you're listening. But yeah, EJ and one of the bootleg producers were out there hanging out too. It wasn't just me.
It was just you for a while. It definitely was just you for a while. You and like a box of Cookie Society cookies. Just big chill.
And a fire and watching my team win the AFC Championship game. I don't see what the issue is here.
I don't really either. Maybe you should have done that for the Super Bowl. Maybe that would have changed the course of history.
Go back to Dallas. Go back to that one spot. Yeah, that would have been
Guys,
better.
Don't worry. I'm just here for the game.
Scale the fence, go in there, just be sitting in the back. No, don't worry. I brought my own fire and my own Cookie Society. We're good. You guys want one? Yeah.
You take one of the Roku remotes home with you so you're ready for when you get back.
Jeez.
Oh. Anyways, we watched that game together, and we all watched this game again this week. And we've been trying to take away some lessons from that game that we watched. And Craig Stout, I don't think there's any person I'd rather listen to right now, because I've had to listen to Maddie all summer. What were your takeaways from that game against the Buffalo Bills in the AFC Championship?
Man, they came out of the gate, and Buffalo decided they were going to play the most off and soft defense to start that game. And the Chiefs were already coming locked and loaded, ready to play short, because they didn't want Patrick Mahomes holding the ball with Joe Tooney playing left tackle. And boy, this offense looked phenomenal in the first half. They averaged 7.3 yards per play in the first half. Only one play went longer than 12 yards. This was just consistent. They were ahead of the sticks all the time in the first half there. There was only one drive that wasn't the end of the half, kneel down right before the half. One drive that didn't end in a touchdown, and it ended in a Patrick Mahomes fumble at the Buffalo 32-yard line on 2nd and 2. They were going to score again. Whether it was a touchdown or a field goal, they were going to score again. They were so dominant on offense to start this game. It was incredible to watch, given all the conversation that we have been having this offseason about the way the offense looked, especially there at the end of the year, eking by in a lot of games, not really putting teams away. This was like an A+ first half performance by this offense. Everything was working. Everything was going their way outside of a fumble. It really was one of those things that when I went back and watched it, I remember being a lot more nervous. Buffalo had the lead at one point, 10-7 in this first half. And now you go back and you watch it and you just feel like, wow, everything's comfortable, everything's clicking, everything's working. And it was just impressive to watch the offense that we have gone on and on about and complained about look that effective, because they just had the right beater for what Buffalo put out there.
Yeah, I mean, they came out of the gates and they were just RPOing the Bills into oblivion, and the Bills had no answer for it. I mean, they had absolutely no answer, that whether they were throwing the little slants or whatever, the little hitches over the middle of the field. When they did hand the ball off, they were getting a ton of space. Like they came out and those first couple drives, it was just RPO, 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 and they were having so much success with it. And then after they kind of progressed out of that portion of the scripted plays, that especially once Jaire Elam came into the game, the Bills started playing very soft coverage on the outside because they didn't trust those outside corners to be able to handle the speed of the Chiefs. And then that's when you got a lot of these just wide open, just little curl routes or just little comebacks on the outside. And the Chiefs didn't really have any issue in the first half moving the ball. I think even starting the second half, like the game was close because to start the second half, Patrick Mahomes takes an absolutely terrible sack on 3rd and long, just trying to extend a play and knocks them out of field goal range. You put that ball through on the field goal, like you have a lot more comfortable of a lead. The Bills are now in like definitely having to catch up mode. And so I just like the Chiefs offensive game plan was fantastic. There was some mistakes, here and there. What that sack I'm talking about there, the fumble was highly unfortunate. I think the final drive before forcing the turnover on downs, so the final field goal drive, they get down to 1st and goal, and then Mahomes takes another sack, and it wasn't as bad as the other one, but he still could have tried to get rid of the ball. So I thought the offense was good. This is it was still protected. The offense still wasn't like free flowing. It still wasn't like super, all gas or anything like that, but it was very efficient. It was very effective. And they took advantage of everything that the Bills were giving them. And it looked like we were on our way to a even bigger, what they scored 32 points. It looked like they were on their way to scoring well over 40 early on in this game.
I walked away feeling like, well, two things. Yeah. Like there wasn't a clean performance across the board. Like there were some crucial mistakes and there were some big plays that the Bills had to make this thing interesting. The better team won. The best team in the AFC was the Kansas City Chiefs. And I know Buffalo Bills fans probably don't want to hear that. If they're listening, they're probably not. The best team in the AFC was clearly, obviously the Kansas City Chiefs. And they proved that in this game because they made big mistakes. And, they made mistakes in inside Bills territory early on. They were not the cleanest team. Matt Collins had to make a miracle catch over Trent McDuffy. There was a lot of little things that had to happen for this game to be interesting. The Kansas City Chiefs were a clear and obvious head above the Buffalo Bills. And that was with offensive line issues starting to get to them in the second half. I think you started to see the cracks of the offensive line issues. The left side of that offensive line was starting to have their struggles. Mike Caliendo, even Joe Thuney a little bit to a degree. You were starting to see some cracks there. And so you get that resolved. And I think things start looking a lot better. I think you start seeing some strides. You start seeing, I think you see even a more potent offense, kind of maybe Juju's first year, the 2023 team or 2022 team. You might be able to start seeing that efficient team again if the offensive line stabilizes over on the left side in 2025. So I going back and watching this game. Yeah, we know how it ended, but I mean, this is the best of the AFC. It's the class of the AFC, and someone's still got to unseat them, and it hasn't happened yet. And I'm not sure it's going to in 2025 either. I feel better about the outlook of this team after watching that particular game against the Bills.
I will also say, just to take it down a notch, the defense did not play well in this game. They did not tackle well. Yeah, James Cook ran right through him. James Cook's a good back. I don't want to take anything away from him, but there were several times that Justin Reed, Drew Tranquill, Nick Bolton, even Leo Chanel had him dead to rights and couldn't bring down the ball carrier. Just wasn't able to make the play. And those are the guys that in last year's team, you looked at it and it's like, if you saw them squared up with somebody, you felt pretty good about it. Like, if you told me, oh yeah, James Cook ran through Jalen Watson. Okay, that's going to happen. It's a DB on a guy, but your four best tacklers, the guys that you just count on making plays for you, didn't. And so there were a ton of hidden yards in this game that occurred just because they could not tackle at all. Like, it was appalling to watch them fill the gap, do the right thing. Spags called a really pretty decent game, and it was an execution thing for me. And it shouldn't have been as close as it was.
run contain games I've ever seen from the Chiefs. Under Spags, the contain was terrible. Even when they were in the right position, like so I was watching it on condensed just to get through it. And like Tony Romo even like froze the play on one of Cook's touchdowns where he bounces it outside of Charles Omenihu.
It's around Omenihu. Yeah.
Everybody has outside leverage. Everybody's playing one shoulder off, and Cook doesn't even like just sprint to the sideline. He has to actively bounce it and still just gets around everybody. And that was just happening nonstop. The contain in particular was terrible. I don't think that the linebackers were triggering fast. Defensively, I think the Bills and the Chiefs have played each other enough, and Josh Allen is good enough that they have a lot of answers to what Spags does well. They really do. And like, they're starting to figure out some of these overload pressures. They're starting to figure out where to put the ball when it's hot. And Josh Allen looks a little less panicky now than he did 2 years ago, even last year, versus some of Spags' good stuff. So they're figuring out how to do it, and they know how to pressure this defense. They know how to spread them out over that second level. They know how to make them linebackers. And to some degree, a little bit, the nickel when it's Chamari Connor, they know how to make those guys have to play two players. They know how to make those are the guys that have to cover and show their range. And that is how you beat this Chiefs defense. And the Bills are excellent at getting their tight ends, getting their running backs, getting Shakir one-on-one with Nick Bolton, with Drew Tranquil. They even get Leo Chenal on some guys on like some vertical-ish routes. And that happened in both games this year. And listen, I thought Leo Chenal started this past year great. Some of these games we've watched in the back half of this year have not been his best films of the season, right? And I think teams kind of were able to attack him through the air a little bit, especially making him go vertical. So I thought the Bills had a pretty good offensive game plan, and the Chiefs didn't execute what they did overly well. So it was on the offense to win this one.
I agree to I agree to a point. Like I don't think it was the best execution. However, I think it's also funny that the Bills needed 6 fourth downs to try to keep things going, right? Like there was, I mean, the Chiefs were on the verge of closing, getting him into punts, and like they had to go for it in 4th and goal. They had to, and execute for it. They went 4-6 on 4th downs. They had to, get several 4th downs just to sustain the drive. So it's like, I get what you're saying, but also even then, Spags still had some stuff for him, right? Like, and he still got him in some looks, and he still got him in situations where they were in do or die situations 6 times in that game, right? So I don't know. I think there's two sides to it. I thought Jaden Hicks did some good things in that game where like you're seeing the flashes, you're seeing him like start to get trusted a little bit more. And I think that's like a little bit of sign of hope. Like we've talked about like Justin Reed and his absence on this team. But like this team was utilizing, Jaden Hicks in the back half of that season, starting to see him play a little bit. And like, I don't know, I have some hope for Hicks in 2025 after just kind of seeing him get trusted with some high leverage moments. Like I think that's a sign for him moving forward. Craig, anything else on the anything else on this game before we move on?
No, I more or less, agree with you. The better team won. Like it seemed like the Chiefs had more answers, and the Bills needed things to just kind of bounce their way. And I think that's funny saying that because, the 4th and 1 that everybody's going to bring up, it was, but that's part of it. It was a stop. They made the stop, and everything else seemed to just kind of more or less go Buffalo's way. Josh Allen fumbled a 4th and 1 that he came up with his own fumble. That was one that
was
I just
his second fumble of the game that he recovered.
Correct. I mean, like the bounces went Buffalo's way, and yet I still look at this game. I'm like, man, Chiefs should have won by 10, easily. There shouldn't have been. It shouldn't have really even been a tense game at all in the second half. And so, it would kind of confirm that as I watched it back.
Yeah, that was my final takeaway. I thought clearly the better team won. Everybody talked about like after the Super Bowl, if the Bills won, they would have given the Eagles a better game. And maybe the Chiefs played their worst possible game versus the Eagles. And I think we saw all the weaknesses of this team show up in one game. Maybe that doesn't happen with the Bills. That's very possible. But watching this game, the Chiefs were just clearly the better team. And I know everyone wants to go back to the 4th and 1 play where on the QB sneak where it doesn't get spotted correctly, or even Xavier Worthy's like jumping contested catch and say, oh, look how lucky the Chiefs got. Josh Allen threw 3 footballs directly to Chiefs players, and not a single one of them was intercepted. He fumbled 3 times and recovered all 3. Ray Davis also fumbled and recovered it. The Chiefs fumbled once, and it was recovered by the Bills. Mahomes fumbled 1 time on a botched handoff, and whether it was his fault, whether Pacheco hit the ball too much, we don't know. I don't care. But like that tiny little miscue was a turnover for the Chiefs, whereas the Bills didn't turn the ball over despite actively trying to give the ball away all game. And they just, like, the Chiefs couldn't capitalize on it. I thought it was pretty clear which team was better coached, better prepared, executing better across the board, even if we had some qualms defensively with what they did. Just across the board, I thought the Chiefs were better. Mahomes outplayed Allen. This whole thing of the Josh Allen keeps outplaying Mahomes in these matchups, but losing was unequivocally false in this particular matchup. That one was not. This one was Miss Mahomes was a better quarterback. The Chiefs were a better team. And the reason it was close is because, well, Matt Collins made a great catch over Trent McDuffy, and all the turnover luck ended up on one team side throughout the entire game. That's the only reason this game was as close as it was.
Eat your heart out, Chris Sims. We're going to take a break. We'll be back right after this.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your #1 source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com.
Success in real estate takes more than vision. It takes the right financial partner. When someone takes something rundown and turns it into something great, that's called a comeback story. Like Brain Group. They take distressed properties here in KC, completely rework them, and then turn them into valuable real estate. But that kind of work needs the right bank behind it. Enter Emprise Bank. They're not about cookie-cutter loans. They saw Brain Group's vision, backed them, and now they're making big moves in Kansas City real estate. Talk about your partner in possible. Emprise doesn't do one-size-fits-all financing. They invest in potential and back growth. Visit emprisebank.com/KC to learn more. Emprise Bank. Member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
Folks, it's playoff time, and if you're still just watching the games, then you're missing out. With Pick 6 from DraftKings, you can turn your hoops knowledge into real cash. Just make your picks, track your score, and if you hit all 6, you're looking at bigger payouts than Prize Picks flex plays. Nobody's dropping better payouts than Pick 6. Hit 6 picks, and that's 25 times your cash. And if you beat your competition, you could be looking at a 500 times bag in your pocket. And right now, new customers can get $50 in bonus picks with just a $5 entry. Here's what you got to do. The playoffs are on, so why not take a shot at making a little money while you're watching? Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app right now and use code KCSN. That's code KCSN to play $5 and get $50 in bonus picks. Better payouts, bigger wins, only on Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdictions. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 bonus picks that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. Terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
I got so excited, forgot to do the Wheel of Games with Tucker Franklin so we can figure out what game we're going to watch on Monday.
Come on. Week 18. Week 18.
Please draw it for Monday because I'm not here on Monday.
Oh, that's true. That's a good point. Okay.
I wouldn't want to watch the defense of that game either.
Yeah.
Here we go. I'm spinning the wheel right now. There's some bangers on here.
There is some.
Ooh. Week 1
That's
versus
a banger.
the Ravens. That's a banger. That's a good one.
I think I said on Monday when we got this Bills game that that Ravens game in week 1 and the Bills Conference Championship were the 2 best games to watch for the Chiefs. We got them back to back. Boy, it's about to be a rough July.
It just got better because Craig's going to be back every Wednesday.
It's true. It's true. Oh, I can't wait till Craig has to watch some of those with us. I'm still gone.
I don't
Where
know
am
where
I?
Manny went.
I'm
good.
This is perfect. See, I've distracted Tucker too much. I put too much on his plate. I was like, here's how we're going to do this. I'm going to come in at this time and you're going to transition and all of that. I had him too set up for the beginning, not for the Wheel of Games.
Why didn't we get music? Maddie made a good point. We needed music.
Because it was supposed to be a surprise for us.
Yeah, if I would have played music, that would have been a dead giveaway.
Yeah,
I gave you air horns.
You did. No. It's just every time Craig comes back that I'm on, I have Tucker get some music ready for it. And so I figured that it was partially a secret because he didn't want music to be on before he said he was back every week. I thought he was just sneaking on here without music at first. And then I got very happy and I no longer cared about the lack of music.
Yeah.
Maddie's only thought was he doesn't want music.
That was my first thought. Kent was introing and I heard the noise. I heard the noise as someone enter, and I saw it. So I knew Craig was backstage when Kent was introing, and I'm like, just hurry up the intro. I don't care what you're saying, Kent. Like, let's get to Craig. And then my thought was he's here with no music. He just wanted to sneak on. I didn't know there was going to be a forever thing.
The immediate plan that Craig and I had thought of was as the intro video is going, he was going to hop in, and I was going to try to flip everybody. So it was like you guys didn't have even a little bit of a chance to try to intro the show.
Yeah.
And so it started with Craig.
But I respect our sponsors too much to try to get in front of that.
Yeah, because that would have completely thrown Kent for a loop. You would have had to do the intro. You would have had to do the intro.
You should have been ready for it. Our tremendous partners, Impossible. Emprise Bank. By the way, if you're as excited about Craig Stout being back as I am right now, maybe you should celebrate by signing up you and 3 of your friends for the KCSN golf tournament, the Tacos and Bourbon golf tournament on August 18th, which is a Monday. It is going to be a great time out at Creekmore. That's where the tournament is going to be this season. We are thrilled to be doing it there. It is going to be a great time. Tacos from Tacos for Life. You're going to have tents from Holiday Distillery out there as well. It is going to be a tremendous time. So come hang out with us. And you can sign up. Link is in the description of the show. All the proceeds go to the KCSN Foundation. And you get to golf. You get to eat great food. You get to have a great time. Tucker and I have a great time on the golf cart every time. So
I don't know if we're allowed to do that again. I've been talking with VJ. I don't know if we're allowed on the beer cart again.
I'm fine.
No. You were not fine. I mean, I was bad. Like I will say that, but like you were still not.
I could do
fine.
I could do it.
Whatever.
If not,
you have one of my favorite pictures of Tucker with a bag of beans, head down on a table that I made into a black and white album. I put the parental advisory in the corner. Yeah, it's spot on. Yeah,
it's gonna be fun. I can't wait. I'm very much looking forward to that. So come hang out with us. Yeah, someone says Creekmore is elite. BJ and I got to play that recently, and it was a lot of fun. Someone said we needed the Undertaker gong for Craig's arrival.
Finish him.
Or that.
My bad. That was the wrong button. That was on my. I read the play card wrong. I read the play card wrong on that one. That one's on me. I get one of these.
I don't know how easy would it be to go back and look at all the arguments that Maddie and I have had over the last year, but I kind of want to do a segment called Things Craig Missed, like tiebreaker, like he's just the tiebreaker on stuff. Like very clearly,
we're going to start off with Flying J. Let's start off with Flying J.
Thank you, Tucker.
Outside of that one, can't just naturally assume that I agree with Maddie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen,
if there's any food takes out there, I'm screwed.
Flying J. I haven't heard your Flying J, talk on the show. I have been told that you were very down on it. We have talked outside the show, and you got my stance is that there are no good gas stations in Kansas City outside of Quick Trip. So somebody had to be that tier.
Yeah, somebody had to be that tier. I completely get it. I think you're wrong for putting him in that tier, but that's fair. That's fine. That's what.
Actually, I'll mute you. Yeah, welcome back, Craig. Welcome back.
What's your take on Casey's? What is it? What's your take on Casey's gas?
We should move on to the cornerback position.
Yeah, we should move on to the cornerback position. Yeah.
No, you don't want to give me a Casey's take?
I mean, I don't have Casey's takes. I don't know. I didn't formulate the scale. I'm going along with your scale. Like I told you guys when you first presented the scale to me, I do not have to have takes.
Listen, I got feedback from a trusted source in Kansas City who went to Flying J for the first time in their life today.
Jordy
and they said it is ranked correctly. It's not great, but given the other options, it is ranked accurately.
I don't know about that, but we'll just get into this scale that is not reflective of the opinions of KC Sports Network and are the opinion of Maddie Lane and Maddie Lane alone, and maybe a little bit of Craig Stout. Now, I'm not
You know
sure.
the one argument I do remember, and it's going to be hilarious to see how Craig rules this. This is a great one. Okay. We were talking about, you thought Sam Darnold was going to get paid in free agency. And I said, no, I don't think that he will. I think he'll get good money, but he won't get paid. The barometer that we set was Geno Smith money or more. And you won Geno Smith money or less. And I won. He got more than Geno Smith, but then Geno Smith got more money than him in the restructure. So Craig, who wins?
What is the line there? No,
Geno's
that's
making
a
more
good
money.
one. Geno is making more money, but I think you were probably referring to the contract terms that were existing
That's not in there.
Moment.
That was never in fine print.
We don't know if Sam Darnold's contract actually escalated Geno Smith's contract afterwards either. So there's a lot of conversation to be had there. KC does need a Wawa, says T.
Yeah.
I think they need a Wawa. I think we're getting a Bucky soon. I can't wait for that. I'm looking forward to that. Okay. The cornerback room is the discussion tonight for the gas station scale, and we are going to be doing a deep dive at that spot. And Craig Stout will be hanging out with us to do it. I can't wait. So Maddie Lane, where does the cornerback room sit on the Maddie Lane gas station scale?
Well, you keep saying the Maddie Lane gas station scale, and I don't know what that is. Now, if you're asking for me on the official KCSN gas station scale that is agreed to by the entire company, I will give you that after I tell you that the cornerbacks that play for the Kansas City Chiefs are Jalen Watson, Christian Fulton, not two first names, Trent McDuffy, Christian Roland Wallace, technically, Joshua Williams, Eric Scott, Melvin Smith, Kevin Knowles, Darius Rush, Jacoby Covington, Najee Johnson, and Noel Williams. Did I say Trent McDuffy? Trent McDuffy, if I didn't say him earlier. So
You did.
there is, well, he deserved to be on there twice. And so there is the Chiefs cornerback room. Where do I think they sit on the KCSN gas station scale? I think they are a very, 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 very high tier Flying J, and there is every ability to get into a quick trip. But it's based around Christian Fulton has to play a little bit more consistently than with more consistency than he did with the Chargers. If he does, I feel fine saying that a group that has McDuffie, Jalen Watson, and Christian Fulton at his best as your starters, I have no qualms with that being a quick trip. I just would like to see Fulton going to a new system than he played with in LA, where I think the Chiefs and the way Spags plays will better fit what he does best. If we get the jump that I expect, I think it could be like an early on elevation to quick trip. But until I can see the consistency, I think I got to go with a very high tier Flying J.
Craig?
What's third on the list again?
Ooh!
That's right. 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven is third on the list here.
Receivers are always open.
All right. So here's the thing. I'm back. I'm going to be here on Wednesdays. It's time for me to nuke all of the goodwill that I just did in the first half of this show.
Did you come back and take my negative role? Let's go.
I'm very worried about the Chiefs cornerback room right now. They have one guy that I trust in Trent McDuffie.
Ooh.
And then everybody else, Jalen Watson, Christian Fulton, Joshua Williams, these guys that have played regular snaps for the Chiefs. So outside of Christian Fulton, but he's been in the NFL. Guys that have played in the NFL are all guys that I would not put inside the top 60 corners in the league. I would not. And I don't know that anybody else would. So if you've got a bunch of guys that are just middling and one guy who is truly elite in the slot has some matchup deficiencies. We just got done talking about the Buffalo Bills game. That was a hell of a catch by Mac Hollins. But a longer cornerback makes that play. He has some clear size deficiencies. That's fine. We know that about Trent. He's still the best slot corner in the NFL. But if you've got the best slot corner in the NFL and a whole bunch of 70 to 80 ranked corners, your room's not very strong. I was an advocate for a long time this offseason. One of the things that Maddie and I have disagreed on, I wanted corner to be a very high need for this team. They needed a guy to come in and do that. Jalen Watson played very well at the beginning of the year. That injury sapped him of a lot. By the end of the year, he was not the same player. Maybe he rebounds from an injury. You hope so. Christian Fulton has never lived up to his hype coming out of college, and I loved Christian Fulton coming out of college. I was a major fan of Christian Fulton. Maybe a new role gets you there, but that's another maybe. Joshua Williams seems to not be trusted at all by this, by Steve Spagnuolo, to the point where Nazeeh Johnson was playing over him, and Nazeeh Johnson was just getting completely just blown out of the water by every receiver that he faced, and yet they trusted him more than Joshua Williams. You've got a bunch of guys that frankly have not shown that they can play at a high level. And Steve Spagnuolo's scheme does a really good job of covering them up, protecting them, making sure that they're taken care of out there on the boundary. But I want dudes out there. So this is a 7-11, a tier 3 for me, because it's Trent McDuffy and a bunch of other guys that we're all hoping are going to be better than they've shown so far.
All right, so I'm stuck between both of you, and I think I'm like slightly leaning a tier 2 flying J level room, but for similar arguments. Like I think the roster construction, I think they did a good job like putting this room together within the context of like cap restrictions and all that kind of stuff. And I think they've smartly built the room because they do have Jalen Watson and Joshua Williams on contract year. So you're getting a very locked in contract year version of two of these players. I like the Christian Fulton signing. I think there's question marks about both Christian Fulton and Jalen Watson from an injury perspective. You've got, so you've got to bake that into the consideration a little bit as well. The Chiefs added a top 100 pick in the draft and one of the best, most highest ball producers at the cornerback spot in Noel Williams. I'm trying not to fall for what the argument of some of their parts, like we have at the receiver position, making these arguments in the offseason. So I'm conflicted where we've talked about. I like the sum of the parts. I like the construction of the room. I think it makes sense. And I want to believe that they will figure it out with the bodies that they have at their disposal. And so I'll give it the flying J because I'm a little bit more optimistic than Craig is about those particular players. But I think the argument sounds, and I'm a little torn. I'm a little torn between both of you. So
Okay.
Okay, fine.
No, listen, we got 3 people. We're talking, Can't get over it.
We're talking. Okay? Oh, this man's trying to get out of here under an hour. He knows better. Come on, man.
On Craig Day, I don't think so.
Okay. How big of a gap was there from L'Jarius Sneed's play in 2023 to Jalen Watson pre-injury in 2024? How much worse was Jalen Watson compared to L'Jarius Sneed the prior season?
I know what the advanced metrics say. And they say that the Jalen Watson defense was better. I want to be clear, or that they were better to not leave anybody in suspense here. The way that they played their safeties was different, though, and I think it was intentional because it was Jalen Watson, and so I don't know, maybe that's old school me that likes the flexibility play the safeties a little bit different than they did, but they definitely felt a little bit more. And we talked about it all the time 2 years ago, how they were just static cover 2 all the time. And, that's what they were running because they didn't trust guys. So I don't know. I personally think that the L'Jarius Sneed defense was better, even though I know the advanced metrics say opposite.
Significantly or just like, a small gap?
Small gap.
Okay.
Small gap. The problem is, L'Jarius Sneed had Jalen Watson behind him. Like that was your third corner. Now he's
splitting time
second
because
corner.
they didn't trust him.
Right.
Yeah. No, I just I guess my follow-up is I'll say, okay, L'Jarius Sneed was probably a little bit better than Watson. And because, hey, Trent McDuffy didn't play outside, whereas he did with Watson. So Sneed drew the majority of the more difficult outside wide receiver matchups and still played as good, if not slightly better. So there's a gap there. I just don't think it's significant or was significant for that, just that gap. the thing that really sticks out to me, though, is I think Christian Fulton, even what we've seen so far in the NFL, which isn't living up to his hype, is better than the play that we got from Watson 2 years ago or the play we got from Joshua Williams 2 years ago. So, like, I just think you're getting a mild step back from Snead to Watson. You're getting a mild step forward from Williams/Watson as rookies going up to Christian Fulton. And then, like, I think that kind of balances out. The big trick comes, where's Trent McDuffie play? If Trent McDuffie's in the slot, I don't know. I have a hard time seeing it take a significant step back from that. If Trent McDuffie's outside, okay, we can talk about it being a step back. I guess like that's kind of where that line I'm trying to straddle of not thinking that they can drop down to a tier 3, 7-11.
They gotta figure that out. Last year, it felt like, especially after the Watson injury, but even before, Trent McDuffie was playing outside, not just in base, but in nickel as well. He was playing outside. They wanted to try Shamari Connor, Christian Roland Wallace, Najee Johnson. They tried a rotation of guys in there because they felt like, well, we'll figure out this spot. It was very telling to me that they didn't look at that as, oh, it's Trent's spot and we're going to make the other guys fit around it. It was more of we'll just cram other guys in there. So again, Steve Spagnuolo values those boundary corners. Trent McDuffie is a very valuable player. I completely get it, but I don't know. I want to see more out of it. Again, if we're back to the point where Jalen Watson from 2 years ago is your third corner, I'm okay. My problem is Christian Fulton, health, Jalen Watson, health. Now all of a sudden you're staring at Joshua Williams, you're staring at Najee Johnson again. We know what that looks like.
Or Noel Williams, baby.
Or
you
Noel
never
Williams.
know.
Mm-hmm.
You never know.
Okay.
We know who the best player at the position is for the Chiefs and Craig Stout. It's Trent McDuffie, is it not?
Oh yeah. It's true. We don't have to make this segment very long. He's the best slot corner in the NFL, and not just because he's great in coverage, because he is, but also because he's a phenomenal blitzer. He's a phenomenal tackler. He's great in run support. Like, he's everything you want your slot corner to be at an A++ level. The only thing that gets him is size. And the Chiefs have done a pretty good job, or did a couple of years ago, a pretty good job of protecting him against that size by having a guy like L'Jarius Sneed that could be a little more inside-outside versatility and move Trent around a little bit. I want a little bit more of that because that was the absolute best version of Trent McDuffie, and I'd love to see a little bit more of that. Even though on the outside he's great, want to see that version of Trent McDuffie again.
I think that Trent McDuffie is an absolute star. I think that we slightly overvalue how much he struggles against size on the outside because it's a big his bad plays on the outside are big plays because that's where they're throwing the vertical ball to the big wide receiver. So it's 1 out of 50 pass plays that comes out negative. And then people say, oh, he's not very good on the outside, or he's just kind of good. And they ignore that he's kind of shutting guys down the rest of the game. That said, we've now seen A.J. Brown numerous occasions. We've seen Cortland Sutton on more than one occasion. We've seen bigger wide receivers for the Chargers. We just talked about it. Matt Collins. We've seen an array of really good to not very good wide receivers with size be able to catch Trent McDuffie on a one-off play, and they can be big plays. So if you are just locking him in on the outside, I do think you are getting diminishing returns on how great he can be across the board. They need to be willing to move him around again because that's not only where he's at his best, but hey, you're also losing Justin Reed this year. You need somebody else in the middle of that defense that you can actually trust to make plays and do the right thing. And I can tell you what it is. You cannot trust Shamari Connor to do the right thing or to make big plays. Can he do it? Yes. You just can't expect it. They need somebody that you can really rely on there. So like, I really would love to see McDuffie go back to playing that outside inside role that he started the year doing, that he's played in the past. This just locking him into the boundary. I still think he'll be a top 5, top 6 corner in the NFL if you put him outside all the time. It's just there are certain matchups, and it doesn't matter how good the opposing player is. There are certain matchups where he might give up a play because there are size restraints. So phenomenal player. The Chiefs, I don't think, maximized him last year. And I do think that we saw that come back to bite them because you give a team, again, 40 dropbacks to say, hey, is our big guy going to get a step on him and make the short-armed guy try to reach around him? And when he can't do it, like eventually it's going to come back to bite you. So use him correctly, and we have zero qualms about how great he is. Don't use him correctly, and he's still great. It's just now we're starting to figure out where he slots in with the other great corners in the league.
I could not agree more about the Trent McDuffie outside corner stuff. I do think he is underrated as a outside corner. Like I think it's getting to this point where I think he's underrated as an outside corner, and you're right. It doesn't feel like it's as the size has not been as detrimental as it looked like it might be his rookie season, right? Like, and it wasn't like it was moments during training camp. It was moments during the preseason against the Saints where you're like, oh, and it just didn't matter all that much, even when he was playing outside at times there. So, no, you're right. I think he's an elite corner. He's a corner that you pay outside, inside. He can do it all. I do think it's a great point about Justin Reed, though, and having someone like McDuffie occupying the middle of the field a little bit more frequency in that area of the field because of the losses. That could be a good way to kind of, help replace some of what you lost there, and not like for like, but just having that steady presence in the middle of that, in the middle of the field. I think that's a great point. So I'd like to see him. I'd like to see him in there more. And I think part of I think the reason the Chiefs signed Christian Fulton is, yes, because of the depth of the team and all that stuff, but also, they want Trent McDuffie inside more. They want him there. Mm-hmm. That's where they want him, and getting more outside corner help and getting more experienced, established outside corner help is the path unequivocally to make that happen. And so they've given themselves good swings in the draft. They've got a couple guys on contract years, and then they've brought in Christian Fulton. And I think that's to help give them some freedom and flexibility with Trent McDuffie. There are a lot of names at this cornerback position to choose from, and we are trying to find someone that is going to take a step in 2025 at the cornerback position. Craig Stout, what say you?
This is a tough one for me. So I'm going to cheat a little bit and pick a guy that's listed at safety. I'm going to go with Chamari Connor. We have seen growth for Chamari every year. Now, it's not significant. I think we can all point to every single game. We can point to instances and be like, yikes, yikes, yikes. But last year was a step up from the year before. He's a guy that they seem to trust in multiple different roles, and you don't get to that spot with Steve Spagnuolo unless you know the defense pretty well. We don't see guys that he trusts to go back and actually play deep safety on some plays, kick down into the slot. While it may not always be something that, presents itself as an awesome experience for you, it is something that we have heard from corners that are actively on the team. Najee Johnson talking about how, no, they're just putting cornerback on my plate right now because I need to learn just cornerback. I need to get this down first. Chamari has been, kind of undertaking some of that extra stuff. If it clicks, if it's one of those things where all of a sudden he's seeing the game a little bit faster, he's seeing things sort out a little bit faster, he's on the same page as some of his other compatriots in the secondary there, he's got the explosive nature, he's a good tackler, he's a great blitzer, he can make impact plays out there for this team. And when I look at the rest of this, I look at a bunch of guys that either are coming off of injuries, had lots of injury concerns. We're hoping for all of these guys. The one guy that I've seen make a step from year 1 to year 2, and I'm hoping makes a step from year 2 to year 3, is Chamari Connor.
That's a good one. I'm going to go to my low-hanging fruit here, Jalen Watson. There's been enough disrespect to Jalen Watson on this podcast already. I think pre-injury, I think he was playing really, really well. I think he was – I agree with Craig in that the Chiefs' overall structure had a little bit more help over the top from the safeties than the previous year. But I don't think it was necessarily just to protect – Watson. I think it's because they had nobody else in the slot to cover anybody. Like, I think they had nobody else that could cover over the middle of the field. Their two best coverage players were their two outside corners. Everybody in between them was kind of bad. And so I thought Watson was playing really good pre-injury. He doesn't have like the same tenacity that Snead does, but he still can be physical. He has a great feel in zone. He's very instinctual as a corner, despite not having like the best athleticism. And so I don't think there's like cornerback one physical ability there. He's just a, fine NFL athlete and mover. But I think with his IQ in this system, his physicality and how smart he is, like, I think a very, very, very high end cornerback 2 is right there on the table. And while I think he's already been there, Some others on this podcast maybe don't believe in Jalen Watson. Some others around the league or the national media don't believe in Jalen Watson. And I'm just sitting here going back to the numbers that Craig was saying, that said he was like the best cornerback in the NFL pre-injury. And I'm like, hey, I don't know, the film kind of aligned with it. So yeah, I think Watson returns healthy. We kind of forget the struggles that he did have in the Super Bowl against the Eagles, which he did. And we go back and say, oh, there's the guy that we saw for the first half of the year that we were going, maybe this Chiefs defense all of a sudden is built entirely around the coverage still, despite no L'Jarius Sneed. So I think Watson even has a little bit more room to grow or just return to form. And I think that kind of counts as a step forward.
I love you, Jalen Watson. Don't let Matty paint this as something where I'm your biggest hater. I love you, buddy.
You find raccoons in your trash.
It might sound a little counterintuitive to me, like waffling a little bit between Maddie and Craig on like where I would sit on the Maddie Lane and Maddie Lane alone gas station ranking scale. I do think Jalen Watson probably would be the bet for me as well, though. I think you've got to bake into the injury considerations, both with him and Christian Fulton. And if I'm picking one of those two, which I think are the logical players, I'm picking contract year Jalen Watson. I think he has a chance to, if he can stay healthy for the entirety of the season, I think that'd be massive for him and his outlook on getting paid. So I'll go with Jalen Watson as well. And Craig Stout's vocabulary word of the day is compatriots. That word's never been used on this show.
I have used it countless times on this show.
I'd remember. I would remember.
Would you?
I may have used it last week when I filled in for Maddie on this show.
We're going to have to go back and find that. I don't think that's real.
No, you're not. You're not.
You're not.
You're so not.
You won't.
You won't.
You won't. Craig, is there any sleeper, any undrafted free agent you would like?
I love that you keep turning to the negative one first. Okay, we're going to start with a harsh one.
No, here's the thing. Here's the thing. You are in the the newbie chair, right? I'm
in the honeymoon phase.
We're giving you the full list, right?
Yeah.
We're giving you the full list of players so you can kind of have the pickings. And
Fair.
then we'll just we'll weave in there in between, So
okay.
We'll just, we're letting you ease back into this.
Okay. South Carolina's own Darius Rush. That is my sleeper pick for this. Darius Rush was, and because we can't talk about corners with me on the show without me bringing this up, you all knew it was coming. He was the closest that you can be to a tier 1 CBAT without being one. He did not do short shuttle or 3-cone. Probably wouldn't have helped his case any, but he is very fast, explosive, long, physical, big, he's got all of these traits that Steve Spagnuolo covets and that a lot of NFL teams covet. It's why he was selected despite not having the best tape in the world, selected in the 5th round, bounced around on a practice squad with the Colts for a little bit, joined the Chiefs for a little bit, then went to the Steelers. Now he's back with the Chiefs. So he's got some exposure, at least to Steve Spagnuolo's playbook in 2023. It's not that much different here. I'm curious what he looks like with a full season to see if they can tap that clear athletic potential here. But we'll see there. I don't have high hopes for that, but that's a pretty deep sleeper of a guy that if you're going to bank just on athleticism, maybe it clicks in year 3 here.
Yeah, I'm going to go the opposite route. I'm going to go with a guy that's not a fantastic athlete per se, but more so a guy that I think actually plays football pretty well. Christian Roland Wallace. When he played last year, he was still young, right? So it wasn't perfect. But when he went out there in the slot instead of Shamari Connor, I don't know. I don't think it was any worse. He's not as big and physical as Connor, so you're not going to get some of the splashy plays versus the run, but he's not afraid to tackle. He's not a bad tackler. He's willing to be physical and stick his nose in there. And so if we get to the point where the Chiefs don't want to play Trent McDuffie in the slot all the time, they want to keep him on the boundary for whatever reason. And let's say that, Craig has sabotaged Jalen Watson and he's not playing very well. Or let's say Christian Fulton is injured again and they're down a corner and they need somebody else to step into the slot. I wouldn't hate seeing Christian Roland-Wallace maybe get another opportunity over Connor. Let Connor go back to the safety room. Just let him learn that position. I kind of like what he did better from deep as a rookie. When he had to fill in for Brian Cook as a rookie, as a deep half safety, I kind of like that better than what I liked him playing in the nickel. He looks better there than trying to change directions quickly. And so maybe Christian Roland-Wallace gets another shot to play in the slot. I think he's got it. I think he's got a little bit of just a gamer to him. He looks and plays like a nickel corner does. They're just feisty enough to make things work, gritty. So I don't think he's a guy that everyone's going to be like writing in pin into their Chiefs 53-man roster predictions. But if you want to make sure that you have a second nickel, let's not just go straight to Shamari Connor. Let's consider like, hey, maybe Roland-Wallace is a slot and Connor can go back and actually play safety.
And to be fair, both Christian Roland-Wallace and Shamari Connor both technically based out of safety a little bit too, right? So like you might see them play some safety. Like they both were safety room players. They were lining up in too high and preseason, all that kind of stuff. Let's make things a little bit more complicated in the nickel spot though, because the Chiefs gave $220,000 to Florida State nickel Kevin Knowles as well. So just adding another name into the mix of somebody to watch. He is actually he's based as a corner historically for the position, and done some good things from the slot. Pretty good athlete, is able to carry vertically a little bit for being a nickel. Willing physical player, willing physical tackler, which I'm sure Steve Spagnuolo was going to like, which is probably part of why they gave him $220,000. And the special teams value there too. So I think he's a guy that I think he could be in the conversation just because of the Chiefs clearly see something in him that they like because of the investment and the prototype fits for him. Like he fits the profile of the cornerback of the nickel position. So give me Kevin Knowles as another name to watch. This might be a quick question. Do you think they need to add anybody the way this room is laid out? Do they want to go get?
Let me change this question, Craig. Should the Chiefs add Jaire Alexander to the cornerback room? And if so, where are you willing to pay? What are you willing to pay him? How are you willing to make this work?
Okay. That is a phenomenal question, Maddie, that I am uniquely equipped to answer, because I was going to say that Jaire Alexander was my position. I know everybody's going to jump to Jalen Ramsey if I'm really trying to improve it. Chiefs don't want to pay Jalen Ramsey, nor do they want to pay the asset for that. Jaire Alexander has now been on the block. He has been released, and he is free for the Chiefs to go get. I would get in the market for Jaire. You can clear a little cap space by extending Trey Smith if you feel like doing that. That's an easy button for you to hit to try and give a little bit more. But I would be willing to play in that mid-tier market. Teams are not going to be lining up to pay Jaire Alexander an insane amount of money because he has been hurt. Very, very, very hurt since he got his contract extension. He did not want to take less money to stay with the Green Bay Packers. They moved on from him. I get why from both sides. Jaire Alexander has the ability, when healthy, to play outside cornerback, inside cornerback. He's got the athleticism to track guys. He can play man coverage. He can blitz from the slot. He can do a lot of things that sound like a guy that Trent McDuffy was playing with a couple of years ago in L'Jarius Sneed. If you want the best version of Trent McDuffy, you have a guy that can kick into the slot, man up against some more physical, bigger wide receivers, play a little bit bigger than Trent McDuffy can, still cover from the slot, still have that two-way go flexibility, and you can have him line up outside and maximize Trent McDuffy in the slot. I realize that is a lot of money, and if the Chiefs are going to spend that kind of money, they had a shot at a guy like Charvarius Ward that they could have done this with, and a guy that was comfortable in the scheme. I don't think it's likely that the Chiefs will be in on Jaire Alexander, but he is the type of player that can play with Trent McDuffy, can kick inside and out, and can maximize the Chiefs' best cornerback, raise the floor significantly in the room, and now all of a sudden you feel really good about this room. I might give it a quick trip. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe I go 2 rungs up if Jaire Alexander is added for the 7 games that he's healthy. But, I'd be willing to find that out for a guy that clearly wants to get a last contract with somebody. And so he's going to take a 1-year deal with something to prove. come play on a team that's going to be high visibility, that you are going to be a featured corner in a featured system, and go get paid next year by another team. Chiefs get a comp pick. There you go, Kent. That's another reason for it. I would love the entire process personally.
I mean, I don't think the Chiefs add anybody because I think the Chiefs' cornerback room is arguably the deepest on their roster besides quarterback. And I think that they are very okay rolling into the year. If they were okay going into last year with the cornerback room, I think they're okay going into the cornerback room this year, which is functionally just better. So I don't think that they do. I would not be upset if they found a way to add Alexander, like I said on Monday, to some kind of their little escalating deal based on how much he plays. It's just there's going to be a pretty low limit on what they can offer in the base given their situation and how they operate. So I just wouldn't expect it. As far as adding anybody kind of less, like of a lesser player than him, I don't know. What's the point of adding another Watson, Najee Johnson, Joshua Williams, like, you know, between Watson and those guys, what's the point of adding another player in that range? It doesn't make sense because they have a lot of guys in that range. So I don't think they add anybody.
I think you structure Jaire with like a not likely to be earned incentive or something like that. How many games did he play last year? 7, something like that. Was it less than that? Yeah. Put it at 8. Say, hey man, if you play half the season or more, now it escalates. Now all of a sudden you don't have to worry about cap next year or this year. You worry about it next year. But I mean, there are creative ways that you can do that to get a guy to bet on himself in a higher profile situation.
I think like likelihood that all of Christian Fulton, Jalen Watson, and Jaire Alexander are all healthy together at the same time. I'm not saying you play that game and you take that into consideration, but like you're probably not going to have all 3 of those players for the entirety of the season if you have all 3 on the roster. Just by nature, those guys tend to get injured. You're looking at a lot of guys that tend to get injured. You know, you're just hoping you have them all for the home stretch and for the playoffs. So I wouldn't hate it, but I don't feel it's likely that they will make that move.
Not likely.
Not likely to be earned. I can't tell you how much fun this was. I can't tell you how much joy I have that Craig Stout has graced us with his presence. And
that joy is very likely to be earned weekly.
That is very likely to be earned every Wednesday. Craig, you're showing up now.
Every Wednesday.
Oh, man. What a surprise. What a June surprise that was. I had a lot of fun with my compatriots. That's going to do it for this episode of the KC Laboratory.
You can't pull it off.
So much for listening, watching, supporting. We love you. We love Craig. We'll catch you later.
Get the last word in, Craig.
No.